It's not what we want to hear, is it? World War III is here. What are you going to do? I know because my grandfather, grandmother, and my mother and father saw World War II and grandparents World War One. I know these things can happen. So there is something we can do, and we've got to ask ourselves, what am I going to do? Just to give you an idea, worldwide casualties in World War II. In battle, 15 million people died. 25 million were wounded, and there were 45 million civilian deaths. So why do they do this? It's all about money. War is very profitable. How blind it would be to presume that it won't happen again. Of course it will. You might be too young, but your grandparents knew. They saw and felt world wars. World War III has been developing for some years, and it's no accident. World War III is already a reality, a certainty. Have you thought about going somewhere else out of the firing line? It might be easier than you think. Lesotho is a little country in southern Africa that is open to immigration and welcoming investment. Maybe you should just like to come and have a look, or just to feel Africa. But it may be for you. And remember, you are African. Africa is the cradle of humanity. So you might ask yourself, why should there be a war? In 2024, 2025, onwards, we don't know. But if you watch these following videos, you'll see that it was a conspiracy and it is now a fact. And I've put some cracking videos onto this one to show you, and many thanks for that.
So the big man in NATO is telling us all to prepare for war. He's basically saying, get your tins of beans in, get your radio, and make sure it's got batteries, of course, and a flashlight. Yeah, well, that's going to do us the world of good when the missiles are coming over onto our lands and destroying everything. These people are just playing with our lives. Normal, everyday people playing with our lives. What a state that we're in. Not us, them.
The British Army has said that Brits face being called up to fight if we go to war with Russia because current troop numbers are simply too low.
General Sir Patrick Sanders, who's been very outspoken on the topic of dwindling troop numbers in recent years, has also spoken about his belief that there needs to be a, quote, shift in the mindset of the public so that they're willing to defend the UK against foreign enemies should they be mobilised. So is it time to consider reintroducing conscription?
Well, that's the question. To debate this, we're joined by former SAS trooper Phil Campion. Thank you, Phil. And former Royal Navy officer Dr. Steve Aiken. Well, Phil, I'll come to you first. Conscription, good idea if we face a threat?
Not necessarily conscription. I don't think a press gang soldier will ever fight like a volunteer. However, we are in a position where the interesting thing out of this was the mindset of the British people has to change. And to do that, you do need some sort of community-based project for young people to take and be involved with so that their mindset can change towards wanting to actually be here and contribute should something go wrong. And don't forget, in times of peace, you need to prepare for war. So I think the general's been very shrewd in as far as he's realised that there's a problem, and if it escalated as quick as it could do, we would be in a very bad place very quickly.
So are you talking about national service, Phil?
Yeah, I'm talking about national service, but I'm not necessarily saying national service is the answer. I don't think that taking everybody and making them serve and cluttering up an already small army with a load of people that don't want to be there is the answer. I think that a community-based project where perhaps after a while you could pick people that you wanted to go on to the army would be worthwhile. It would also teach a lot of these people nowadays that haven't learned anything about respect and all the rest of it, a good few lessons so that they could want to contribute to the society.
Steve, say Russia came to our shores, should ordinary Brits be conscribed to fight them? And also, as a second question, what happens if Russia invaded a NATO country such as Poland? Would we be expected to go and help out in Eastern Europe?
Listen, sort of the war in the Ukraine has been a wake-up call. We need to be ready. And we've already heard from Admiral Barr and NATO. We've also heard from sort of the chief of the Norwegian General Staff. We've already seen across Europe, people are now realizing that, the wake-up call is there. We need to get ready. Now, the reality is with an army of 70-odd thousand, it's far too small. But we need to be able to create a structure that can be able to train people. We're not ready to bring in a conscripted army yet. We need to build the mechanisms to be able to do that. And it's not just soldiers we're going to need. We're going to need cyber warriors. We're going to need all sorts of people who can fight in sort of the information battle space. We'll need more sailors. We'll need more airmen. And actually, we need to deal with our country's industrial capacity because we're going to have to be able to manufacture lots of things like drones. And we just saw this example this week. We're not going to be in a position to make virgin steel anymore in the United Kingdom. Those are real strategic issues that this government should have been sorting out by now, and we need to get on with it.
Yeah, you raise a number of pertinent points there. Would you agree also with Phil that maybe we have a bit of a cultural problem, that a lot of young people in this country just would not be up to it, wouldn't accept the need to?
No, Phil and I have both served. We have served with some great people from all backgrounds across all of the United Kingdom and beyond. I mean, I think the British people, when they realise what the real threat is, will get ready because actually defending our nation is something of vital importance. And I think people understand it's there, but they also need to have the ability to be able to be trained and come into an organisation and be able to be used. That's the problem. We don't have the infrastructure to do that anymore. I mean, our reserves have been hollowed out. I mean, we don't even have, large numbers of cadets anymore. We've got to be able to work at all these things. And we need to build that infrastructure out. And I think we're running out of time. So one of the things we should be doing is having a real serious conversation across this nation about how we're capable of building up our armed forces and doing it quickly.
But when the enemy actually knocks on your door, then things will escalate extremely a lot faster than you probably thought. And if you'd have said that to someone, say, for instance, in Ukraine 4 years ago, how do you feel about fighting? Well, I don't want to fight. Well, now you are fighting, aren't you? Okay, so sometimes the situation will dictate the response.
Yeah, so circumstances dictate, Steve. Actually, if we did have a threat on our shores, people would just get on with it.
They've seen what's happening in the Middle East. They know war's coming. I mean, many people are now realizing that, we've got to get ready. And, it's the job of our government. Our first role of our government is to look after our security. They need to be making changes, and they should have been doing it by now, rather than waffling on about we've got great kit and we don't need more people. That's absolute rubbish. The Chief of the General Staff was spot on. Saying that we need to be ready and prepared is exactly what we should be doing.
Steve, the RAF, for example, last year, they had to apologise for reverse discrimination by excluding white pilots from a recruitment scheme. On what planet now are they expected to... I'm talking about white people, white pilots. They've been subject to all this diversity and inclusion and equality nonsense that's ravaged the armed forces. How would you expect people who've been excluded under those circumstances to then go and take arms and defend the country?
Look, we've got this classic example of we've got a recruitment problem in the armed forces. Why have we got a recruitment problem in the armed forces? Because they outsourced recruiting. The days when you used to go to a recruiting office and meet people from the armed forces and invite you to come and join the Army, Navy or Air Force, and particularly in my case, come and join the Royal Navy, have gone. They've outsourced it. That's the biggest problem we've got at the moment. It's not wokeism. It's the fact that we're not actually doing the proper recruiting ourselves. I mean, somebody has to seriously ask the question, how can it possibly take so long to get so many people who want to volunteer to get into the armed forces actually get in. Forces.
Yeah, Steve, sorry to cut in there. I just want to give a last word to Phil because we've got to wrap things up. Phil.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, go on.
Well, yeah, well, your take on that, the recruitment process, what's going on? Why aren't young people signing up?
I think that there's a problem throughout. I call it the 3 R's: recruitment, retention, and resettlement. And if you get one of those 3 R's wrong, you've got a massive problem. Now, at the moment, they're struggling to retain people, which means when that soldier gets out, he's got a poor taste in his mouth. He passes that on. That word gets back to the person that's going to join up, and that's why numbers have gone down. And obviously, as my friend alluded to, the outsourcing of all this to private firms who are only interested in their own numbers, it doesn't work for me at all.
Okay, great stuff. Phil Campion and former Navy officer Dr. Steve Aiken, thanks for your expertise. Appreciate it.
This used to be a city in Ukraine. Marinka is, or was, a city near Donetsk in the Donbass region of eastern Ukraine. It used to be home to around 10,000 people. It's been contested by Ukrainian forces and Russian-backed paramilitaries since war broke out in the region in 2014. But new photos and footage show that the city has been practically wiped off the map since Russia launched its full invasion of Ukraine last year. The city is completely destroyed, said Artem Shus, Marinka's police chief. Completely.
For fuck's sake. People of the UK will be called up to the armed forces if the war between NATO and Russia escalates and actually happens. And this is coming from the head of the British military. And this is both men and women. So the head of the British Army is set to tell ministers that troops numbers are so low, he will need to find more people if Putin's war in Ukraine escalates, and the public's mindset must change so they are ready to be called up and to go and fight in a war. Fighting for this government and Rishi, the rat, unelected Sunak. This is just a fucking joke. Seriously, it must be a fucking joke. Where are they going with this? Why is this being announced to us? Why has it been announced to ministers from the head of the British Army? What do they fucking know? Where is this going? If you ever needed a reason to leave the UK, this has got to be the fucking reason.
Are these guys insane? Are these globalists trying to start World War III? It sure as heck seems that way. And clearly the destruction of the United States is their main goal, by the way. Just look at the markets. It's turmoil. A war in the Middle East is the perfect cover for these globalists to implement the Great Reset. Take away your cars, take away your cash, control your movements. They tried it during COVID. And now they're trying to make it happen again fully. As my friend Tucker Carlson just said, they are going to use war to make these changes.
So they can't lose. They will do anything to win. So how do they do that? They're not going to do COVID again. I know everyone on the right's afraid they're going to do COVID and mask mandate. They're not going to do that. They can't do that. If they've already been exposed, that won't work. There's going to be, no, what are they going to do? They're going to go to war with Russia. Is what they're going to do. There will be a hot war between the United States and Russia in the next year. And
really?
Yes, of course. They want it anyway.
Yeah, this is all moving ahead full steam. Even though it's buried behind the headlines of Israel and Hamas, they want it that way. We are seeing the New World Order plans colliding in real time right now. And they're doing it quietly, hoping you won't even notice about it.
You can search
24 hours, we saw the clearest signs yet that Russia and China are not bluffing. They just quietly maneuvered their nuclear assets into positions to mount an offensive against NATO. Warning NATO, stop it now. You're sending another $100 billion into Ukraine and now to the Middle East. You're putting aircraft carriers in our backyard. Stop provoking us by positioning all of these war assets right in our backyard, or we will attack you. And if that happens, we will not be able to stop it, by the way. Former U.S. Marine, former U.S. Weapons Inspector Scott Ritter just told me that our military would lose and lose badly.
The United States Army just had a shortfall in recruiting. They are literally tens of thousands of personnel short of what their authorized manning strength is, which means instead of expanding the U.S. Army, they have to shrink it. They don't have enough men or women to fill the ranks. And so certain units, certain capabilities are being taken down to zero because you don't have manpower to do this. And now Congress is talking about beefing up. With what? Are you going to go to a draft?
On the military front, yes, over the past few hours, Russia and China started quietly maneuvering their nuclear assets into these key positions to mount an offensive. Stealth nuclear submarines, hypersonic missiles capable of total annihilation, by the way, are now pointed squarely at billions of innocent people. And Russia says, we're not bluffing. Here's Putin specifically talking about this.
Взяли, затащили две авиационные группировки в Средиземное море. Хочу сказать, это не угроза, то, что сейчас, по моему поручению, военно-воздушные силы, военно-космические силы России начинают на постоянной основе патрулирование в нейтральной зоне воздушного пространства над Черным морем. И наши самолеты МиГ-31 вооружены комплексами «Кинжал».
So Putin is now patrolling the Black Sea for the first time ever, putting hypersonic missiles in place. And just so you understand, these Kinzhal missiles cannot be shot down by anything that the United States has in its arsenal. Again, nothing we have can shoot these down. This is an enormous nightmare for the United States. Here's how they work.
Traditional ballistic missiles follow a parabolic trajectory, a predictable arc that goes up and down like a ball. It means they can be detected early in flight. Hypersonic glide vehicles work differently. They exploit physics using drag and friction so they can fly in all directions like an aircraft, but at super fast speeds, making them very difficult to detect until it's too late.
And Germany this morning is now confirming that there was a peace plan in place where Ukraine would surrender to Russia and this war would be over. But Germany now admits that NATO and the United States put a stop to it. They called off the peace agreement. Why in the world would they do that? Well, because the globalist cabal that runs NATO, the World Economic Forum, clearly wants this war, and they want war in the Middle East. They want to push their agenda forward. And over the past few days, multiple pieces of Klaus Schwab's Great Reset plan have started to roll out, using the guise of war to do it. This is not a conspiracy theory. It is happening. I think this tweet sums it up perfectly, as Zero Hedge pointed out. Those who once stood united due to their experiences of a manipulated COVID-19 pandemic and subsequent rollout of experimental vaccines are now all divided over a manipulated situation involving Palestine and Israel. Please give yourselves a pat on the back. You deserve a medal. Doesn't that sum it up nicely? We're all being manipulated again. Here are the Great Reset items that have been rolled out due to this conflict over the past few days. And who's going to step in and complain about it? Who's going to rally and say, we don't want this? Censorship. That's the first one they did. Major calls for suppression of freedom of expression have sprouted up everywhere since this war started. It's just another excuse to curb free speech. In the European Union, Commissioner Thierry Breton, did you see this? Sent warning letters out to every major social media platform. That's right, claiming they need to combat disinformation regarding Israel and threatening them with fines if they don't, meaning censor people who are critical of what appears to be a massive genocide, which is about to unfold. So if you're critical of that and you don't want the U.S. to be involved in it, threaten them with fines, shut them down. Journalists finding themselves arrested in the United Kingdom for exposing the truth of what's happening in Ukraine and now Israel. Freedom of speech being shut down is exactly what they want. World Economic Forum stooge Jacinda Ardern, of course, leading this push. She's the former disgraced Prime Minister of New Zealand. She was one of Klaus Schwab's young World Economic Forum global leaders. She's now pushing for this censorship regime. Next up, facial recognition software, which is a major threat to your right to privacy. That's being ramped up. There's a number of states in the U.S. that are trying to ban it outright, saying, no way, we don't want this. But liberals in the Biden administration are pushing it big time in order to protect you. And of course, the intelligence community wants this. They absolutely do. They will know all of your movements, whether you like it or not. Police have also introduced Section 60AA powers in the pro-Palestinian demonstrations in central London. They basically ask every protester, remove your face coverings so their identity cannot be concealed. Here's the news.
What's been happening in the last hour is that police have introduced Section 60 AA powers, and they've been engaging with protesters, asking them to remove any face coverings that they might have, based on, they say, a reasonable belief of serious violence.
And these reporters just go along with it. They sort of parrot what the police say. So now the police have the power to scan your face, track everything you do, thanks to these extraordinary wartime powers. The globalists are also shutting down independent media. They're banning YouTube channels. They're being banned left and right. We've had a number of friends who've had their channels shut down over the past week. So we need to take away your freedoms, they say, including cash. We don't want you using cash anymore. Over the past few months, ATMs are being shut down all over the Western world. Cash machines disappearing. Tens of thousands of them were shut down during the COVID lockdowns. And the plan is to remove all cash machines by the year 2037. So no more cash. They want you using CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. So guys, all of these things are happening. Don't be fooled by them because they're using war to take away your freedoms.
Thousands of Americans are now waking up and buying property and emigrating to South Africa. If you research this, you'll find that it's true. And those who left South Africa for a better life in Europe over the last 10 years or 20 years have also woken up, and now they're going back to South Africa. So let me explain something about Lesotho or Lesotho. It's surrounded by South Africa, it's landlocked, and does have a super friendly English-speaking population with a very low crime rate. If you come here and you're British, you don't need to have any visa. You can just come in the border and stay for 30 days. If you want to come back again, you go back to South Africa for a day or two, and you can come back in again to Lesotho. So you can have time to see whether you like this place or not. And I assure you, you will. You'll love this place. If you want to take it further and you feel like coming here to immigrate or get a residence permit or become a citizen, the Lesotho government are going to make it very easy for you. They really understand the situation in Europe. Or maybe you just like to come and have a look or feel rural Africa or feel what urban Africa looks like. And let me tell you, no matter what your skin color is, you can see mine, you are African because Africa is the cradle of all humanity. So come and have a look. You've got nothing to lose, really. You might never have heard of Lesotho. It's a small, fairly well-developed, independent mountain kingdom with a multitude of opportunities, welcoming development. Maybe this could be your life's first or maybe last adventure. Why not come to look? Instead of going on holiday at a beach resort to lay in the sun, there is more to life. We are open to help you explore some options that might suit you to see Lesotho or to be here. You'll be familiar with the shape of Africa. And on the top right, you're going to see South Africa. And then on the bottom right, you're going to see the approximate location of Lesotho, not too far from the Indian Ocean and Swaziland, and it's surrounded by South Africa. You probably haven't heard of it before, but it's there and it's waiting for you. There is a better, simpler plan. Get out of the UK now. Europe too. To Southern Africa. Lesotho. So here's a taste of joy. A video from Lesotho's capital city, Maseru. Come on, be brave. Come and see for yourself before it's game over. There's so much you could actually do in Lesotho. You could start a business, buy property at a fraction of the UK prices. You could develop real estate. There's plenty of opportunities in that department. Or maybe agricultural market gardening, or even grander scale agriculture. The possibilities are limitless. Tourism and hospitality here. This is one of the most beautiful countries in the world. And really, the tourism sector is so underdeveloped. Now, some of you may be into arts and entertainment, and that's something also that you could quite easily do here. Or high tech or remote business, or maybe you could even just retire here to this country. Whatever your ideas, experience, or skills, then we can most likely make it happen. One of the many options for you, if you're interested in the agricultural sector, could be small scale farming, market gardening, or even larger scale farming. Or maybe you just like to visit our farm and see what it's like to live in a bit of a rural environment in Africa. Anyway, have a look at the following video and see what you think. The opportunities are there for you.
It's not going to appear in Lesotho TV.
If you can just introduce yourself.
My name is Masia Julius Johani. I'm born and raised here. I grew up here as a young boy. I've seen the activity that was going on here. This place was established around 1970, early 70s, on different ways of managing a farm.
When did this place really stop functioning?
No, it's in recent years. I think around 2015, there about 2014. It's not a long time ago.
So what can be found here now? Are these places unoccupied, or is nothing happening here now?
No, the kitchen is there.
Mm-hmm.
It has all the facilities. The hall is there with all its facilities. The dormitories are there with their facilities, and the houses, the residence houses for different levels of officers are still here.
I see.
Yeah.
Roughly, how many people would you say would be accommodated in total, with students or youth or market gardeners or manager? How many?
Around 120.
Wow.
Yeah, it's big because if you go that side, there are still dormitories. maybe 120 is high. It's on a higher side, but
At least
roughly,
80 to 100.
Yeah, 80 to 100.
Wow.
People can be above. Luckily, I happen to be the deputy principal secretary of the Ministry of Agriculture, and I was the one administering
this project,
the contract also.
Okay,
But
okay.
I think the gentleman is failing. But I think the gentleman has open arms. If anybody is
willing to
have
work with us.
with him, he will be.
Yeah.
His doors.
And
are open.
what opportunities do you see agriculturally around here? So if we make this place in action,
This place can be immediately turned into a center of excellence. You can train. This training facility cannot necessarily train people in the area of agriculture, but in different areas. Any kind of training, even a church, any kind of training you want to offer. But what makes it even more attractive is the fact that they are residential dormitories. This place has electricity.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
it has electricity.
Wow. Okay.
Water is also available. Water can be used for different horticulture, horticulture production. It can be used for poultry. On the
Wow.
other side
Okay.
is a
Okay.
farm
Okay.
for poultry production, and then for dairy production, and many other things a farmer can bring together. And
Do you think this could be commercially viable?
highly viable.
So the guys who would be here learning, they would also be looking after their own financial burden.
That's why I said it could be a center of excellence. In a sense, people can be equipped in different areas of specialization.
Fantastic.
Did you see they can even do woodwork over there?
Yes, yeah. I saw the. This is a blessing, I think, to have something like. If you wanted to start this from nothing, it would take 2 years or 3 years and a lot of money. Or 5.
Yeah.
And you still have to do everything.
The luckiest part, at least I'm a local. I understand.
And you have some authority, a lot of authority over what might develop here.
Yes.
Yes, because we have private schools
Yeah.
in town. Accommodation is always a problem. But here, you can admit students with accommodation. There are places for even teachers.
Sure. And look, I've been...
And some teachers from the local schools here are already living here.
Do everything for an institute.
And it wouldn't cost... Look, these rural guys who can't read or write, they never had the opportunity. They don't need something special to live in. For $500, you could put little rooms for them, and we could even develop those who can't read or write, and they can be in an environment with more educated people to be stimulated. Anyway, guys, thank you very much. It's a lovely explanation, and I'm sure a lot of people will be very interested and have wonderful ideas about what is possible. What's the name of this place?
Mandela Farmer Training Center.
Mandela. Okay. God bless Mandela. Thank you, guys. And okay, if farming is not your thing, fine. Some may enjoy to invest in and develop property, and trade skills are also absolutely needed in Lesotho. Some might just come and live in one of the urban developments, and there's some beautiful urban developments here. Life in Lesotho is not expensive. So here we have a couple of duplexes, and on this side there are apparently 2 more, as you can see here. We'll go inside one of them. So there's one duplex, there's the other, and there's a house on the other side there. And then on this side we have, how many houses? 4. 4 or 5 big houses? 4. Okay, so let's go a little bit around the front. And these are big houses, they're big family houses, maybe 3 or 4 bedroom. I'm gonna take another video of the big houses. So we're going from the duplex area now to the main houses area. And this place was owned by a Sotho guy who became very, very wealthy in South Africa. And he came and built this, but he passed away. And he had many wives. So these houses were for his wives. But now this place is completely abandoned. So we're trying to find out what is happening here. Who has ownership? And we found the guy who has control over it. I'm not going to take you up to the last one, up there. You can see really beautiful houses, but they need to be renovated a bit. They need some work. But this could be an ideal place to put a number of people. It's the Hotel Malunga. And this was owned by the same old gentleman. So we're just going to have a look around now and see what's there.
Can pack them up. We are here for a reason. Wow.
Let's go down here. I don't know how many rooms can be in this place. A whole lot of other rooms here. Look down the other side of the building.
Wow, now.
Crazy, huh?
This is crazy, huh?
So I reckon this must be at least a 20-room hotel.
No, more.
Maybe 30,
More
40.
because it's down and upstairs.
Yeah.
More.
Just broken glasses. But it's actually not in a bad state of
No,
repair.
not yet.
And this is owned by the same family, if you like.
Go out this side. You can go out to this side.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. What's up?
Let me call my friend here to
Hello.
talk to you.
Hey, Baba.
Hey.
I'm just looking.
Okay.
And this place is on a very busy main road. And apparently this place is also owned by the same guy who died. A guy from Durban, Zulu guy from Durban. He came to this country and did these things, but his main business and life was in Durban. So thank you for watching. There were 3 property development projects: the housing complex and the hotel. And across the road from the hotel, there's that very large building. And there are many projects like that here in Lesotho that have been started and not completed. I've come across several others, but I think this video just gives you an idea of what is available. You'd have to come here yourself and have a look. On the following slide, you're going to see my email address. So please get in touch. You might be able to escape more than a mundane life in the United Kingdom or Europe. You might be able to escape a war, World War III. So thank you for watching.